You'd assume the only school Lex had affiliations with would be MIT, but what if I told you Lex has barely any connection to MIT?
A bunch of lies have accumulated online about me on these topics to a sad and at times hilarious degree. I thought I would once more state the obvious facts about my bio. I am a research scientist at MIT and have been there in a paid research position for the last 10 years.
But what if I told you Lex has barely any connection to MIT?
Wow, the land of make-believe.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? If you made it through that quick intro, I want to thank you. You're the 1% of the 1%. GhostGum made an exposed video on Lex Fridman called The Many Lies of Lex Fridman, and it has now garnered over 1 million views. But most of his criticisms or lies that he found were conjecture, half-truths, or just incorrect or preferences.
But if you go on YouTube, he has alleged lectures that took place at MIT. So did he really teach at MIT? Well, it turns out Lex taught a January community class at MIT. This class that Lex taught was a class that wasn't for marks. There was no requirement to be there, no grading.
Lex Fridman has made a video addressing those allegations, and the video will be in the description below if you want to see it uninterrupted or just his full, 9-minute breakdown of the lies that have been spun by people like GhostGum. But I just wanted to put together, some of the quick bullet points of what GhostGum said and, the corrections that Lex Fridman actually made.
Teaching, for me, always has been just for fun and not part of my research work. I personally think I suck at it, but I have always learned and grown from the experience.
But before any of that, over 98% of daily consumers to this channel have yet to subscribe. If you could do me the huge favor of hitting that sub button, I greatly appreciate it. And with that, let's get into it.
What's interesting is that on all of Lex's personal media, he never mentions Drexel University, not even once. He never mentions he went there, he never talks about it on podcasts, nothing. He and his dad had a podcast years ago, who, keep in mind, is a professor at Drexel, but that podcast has been scrubbed clean from the internet. Even going through his catalog, you won't find podcast 100.
This piece of evidence that Lex Fridman never mentions in podcasts that he went to Drexel seems like very damning evidence, very good proof, even going as far as scrubbing podcasts that mention Drexel, except when you do just a bit of research. The podcast where he sits down with Donald Trump, he mentions and talks about his time in Drexel, and that was just within this last year. Let's run the clip.
I went to Drexel University for my bachelor's, master's, and doctorate degrees, and I took a while, just as you're doing. I did a lot of non-standard things that weren't any good for some hypothetical career I'm supposed to have.
On his Wikipedia, which he's not in control of, by the way, it says Drexel University. Lex claimed that this was an attack on him for no good reason.
This is another awesome, perfect example that if I was trying to be convinced that Lex was unhinged or crazy or was going after Wikipedia or any other person or company that tried to slander him in any kind of way, this would be a great example, except for the fact that Wikipedia did remove the entries about him working at MIT. It did have that removed. If you read the tweet itself, you can clearly see that he's been dealing with that. In the tweet, he said he's been dealing with for the past 2 days. So obviously anyone, himself, myself, everyone would be very upset if the occupation we had been doing with something as highly esteemed as a research scientist at MIT, if that's something you're into, that would be upset that for the last 7 years you've been there and Wiki removed it as your occupation.
So what is his affiliation with MIT? Apparently what Lex did is what a lot of slimy academics do to boost their clout. Somebody from MIT commented on these dubious practices. Basically what people will do is the bare minimum to get associated with the school. So for Lex, he gave a free lecture for no marks. He managed to get an MIT email as a result. People who aren't involved with MIT see that and think, wow, that's prestigious. Also, as somebody with a PhD, it's possible you could offer to do unpaid research for MIT, then you get library access, and most importantly, the MIT email.
And this portion of the video is the most damning, unequivocal evidence that Lex Fridman is an absolute fraud. The proof that Lex did a lecture that was not mandatory. It was out of semester. He spoke one time and never again at MIT. And he did this all because he is a nefarious actor. He is a genius. He is a villain, a fucking mastermind Lex Fridman. He knew that if he did one lecture at MIT, they would grant him access to the library and give him an MIT email. Dun, dun, dun. Well, it fucking turns out that he has been working there as a research scientist for the last 10 years.
I am a research scientist at MIT and have been there in a paid research position for the last 10 years. So like I said, a common attack on me is that I have no real affiliation with MIT. The accusation, I guess, is that I'm falsely claiming an MIT affiliation because I taught a lecture there once. Nope, that accusation against me is a complete lie. I have been at MIT for over 10 years in a paid research position from 2015 to today. To be extra clear, I'm a research scientist at MIT working in LIDS, the Laboratory for Information and Decision Systems in the College of Computing.
In reality, the only thing I've been able to confirm regarding the relationship between Lex and MIT is that he did teach a non-credit after-hours community class.
As an added bit of bonus, I wanted to see how difficult, how much research Ghost Gum actually did. How hard was it to find that he had no affiliation at all with MIT? I got to tell you, it was very difficult. I had to scrub the deepest, darkest parts of the web to find out that Lex Fridman does work at MIT, and all I had to do was search the MIT directory. It was actually super easy. The steps are, there's 3 steps, honestly. You just go into Google, type in MIT directory, write in Lex Fridman's last name, and then it pops up that he works at the research portion of MIT. Granted, is he a professor? Is he tenured? No, but I don't think Lex has ever made that claim. Lex has never said he is a tenured professor at MIT. He says he works at MIT. He does. He's a research scientist. And you can look it up yourself if you don't believe me. You can go to MIT's directory, type in his name, his last name, and it will pull it up. Ghost Gum went as far as pulling up a comment from a well-known MIT alumni or some kind of professor. It doesn't even show the name. It's just a comment from somebody. And he used this as evidence to prove his point that Lex has never worked at MIT as a professor. He's maybe given lectures. Lex himself says he's given several lectures, but he is teaching only as enjoyment, as something he likes to do. But his role there at MIT is a researcher.
What my favorite part about this whole saga is that for all of his profile pictures, Lex uses this photo of him speaking at MIT, and you'll notice all this complicated math behind him. You'd think that this is Lex's math, but no, it was the guy before him who wrote all this stuff on the board, and Lex just walked in after and gave a lecture. But it looks very fancy on literally all of his social media profile pictures.
And this is the last clip or portion I'm going to speak on. The rest of it becomes conjecture, opinion, and he pulls up comedians and what they think about Lex. And I'm not sure if that's evidence that he's a fraud or lied about anything. He brings up Tim Dillon, suggesting that he doesn't know what research he does. But what the fuck does Tim Dillon, the comedian, know about fucking fuck all? Like, he's a fucking comedian. He doesn't know dick about shit. So that doesn't matter.
Tim Dillon had an impeccable rant about these pseudo-intellectual types that basically sums it all up, including Lex.
That Lex Fridman interview is great. Yeah. It's great. It's 6 hours because he takes 6 minutes to ask each question, but I love him. I'm just trying to stay in this, but he's great. He's a genius. And everyone says he's a genius. I don't know if he's a genius. What does he do? He's a coder?
Yeah, for AI.
Wait, what? So what does that even mean?
So like
Does anyone have to ask credentials anymore? Everyone goes, Eric Weinstein's a genie. Does anyone know why? What? Is there anything they've done? No, truly, because all they do is talk. Is there anything they've built?
And the rest of it also becomes shitting on Lex Fridman not being a alpha male. But I think alpha male is kind of an opinion. It's kind of like you are the alpha male of whatever subject matter you are interested in. If you're the top person or asserted to be the top person in your group, you are the alpha male. So if you're the best wrestler of your friend group, then you are probably the alpha male of that group. If you are the best, painter, skateboarder, whatever you're into, if you were at the, closer to the top, you know, a top podcaster, which Lex is one of the top podcasters, then yeah, he could be seen as an alpha male. Alpha male doesn't just mean the strongest or the toughest. That'd be a very simplistic way to see an alpha male, because if it's the toughest and the strongest, well, if you can be tough and strong, but if someone has a firearm, you're no longer the alpha male, buddy. That's what I'm saying. There is, you know, you can be the best Marine and then you're the alpha male. That you can be the best, you know, videographer or the best, you know, filmmaker, then you are the pinnacle. People are literally below you and worshiping you because you are the top dog. Alpha males come in all shapes and sizes. Guy's a fucking dumb fuck, doesn't know that. But yeah, this is the last portion I'm going to talk about, where I guess he expected Lex to walk in to give his lecture and wipe the whiteboard and say, hey, I don't have anything to do with this gobbledygook in the background. I didn't write any of this shit. So let me go ahead and erase this before my lecture. He's attributing malice. He's attributing that Lex purposely left it up so that he can in the future use it as a thumbnail or a picture on his profile for his LinkedIn, his Twitter, his Instagram, for all these things. I don't know how much credit he wants to give Lex of how much foresight. He might be a fucking genius at this point. If he has so much wherewithal, so much foresight that he can be like, oh wait, I'm not going to remove any of this stuff behind me, because when I pick my handle thumbnail, when I pick the image for my Instagram profile or Twitter or whatever, LinkedIn, I want that to be in the background. That is fucking insane levels of, you're jumping through hoops to reach that, it feels like. But yeah, that's pretty much the video. If you made it to the end, thank you. I appreciate it. Comment down below, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know, do you agree with Ghost Gum? Was this a good breakdown? To me, it seemed completely awful. Most of his points were abysmal. He said he did research, but he didn't do fucking basic research. I don't know what type of research this guy did, but it didn't seem like much. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. Am I 100% in the wrong? Is Lex a fraud? I don't fucking know. I'll argue with you in the comment section, though. Believe that. I will argue with you. But that's all the time we have for now. If you made it to the end, once again, thank you. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, hit that notification bell. See you next time. Later.